All right, I hope you've got your coffee and teas and everything all settled in. There's only one rule: you're not, after the break, I can forgive you for this morning, but after the break, you're not allowed to sit to the same person, next to the same person you sat with yesterday. Please find somebody else to talk to today, just so we can get a bit of collaboration going. Right, for those of you guys who do not know me, my name is Simeon Oriko. I work at the Moji Foundation as the Director of Community. And many times I get the question, what is it that you exactly do at the foundation? So I want to take a minute, and that's why this session, every community meeting usually is called Community Updates, and that's what I usually do, give community updates. But I wanted to take a minute to reflect on the journey that we have come as a community in a couple of areas, and also to give some direction. Now, the biggest chunk of community work involves listening, quite a bit of it. And for the last 2 years, I've spent quite a bit of time listening to what the community wants to do. Classic community management falls into 4 categories or 4 buckets of work, typically. In any given moment of my day, whatever it is I'm working on fits into one of these 4 categories. Community growth, just making sure that there's more people, more active people in our community. Community governance, figuring out how we work together, how we govern ourselves as a community. For those of you who may not be aware, the community has 3 governing bodies. One is a change control board that focuses on the APIs. Mr. Michael Richards, right there, is our rapporteur for the change control board, right? And Sam, right at the back, you can't miss him, he's in a very nice blue suit. Sam is a convener, yes, of the change control board. So in case you're wondering about Moji Loop's APIs, those are the 2 people to talk to. We also have the design authority. There are many people in the room who sit on the design authority. They are essentially the main technical decision-making organ of the community. They're made up of 5 elected people and representatives from each work stream. And then we've got the community council being the representative governing body for the entire community. So this is where we decide as a community what direction we want to go, part of which I'll speak to today. So that's governance. Engagement is figuring out who do we need to talk to, who needs help, how do we get them what they need in order to accomplish the goals they have within the community or with Moji Loop. That is why you'll often see me talking to different people about their own interests and making sure that they're able to meet their goals. And the last one is strategy. And strategy is essentially asking us as a question, what does a community want to do and how do we get it done? Plain and simple. So every year I sit down with Megan, Paula, and some of the foundation staff, and we think through what we think the community is saying. Many times the community, when they meet in their work streams or over lunch in places like this today, or in governance groups, certain topics seem to pop up. And sometimes it's not always a very organized or very organized discussion. Sometimes a topic will pop up in a work stream and then it will pop up at the design authority, and then you'll hear it again 3 months down the line in a very different conversation or different setting. So what we began doing last year, and we've continued to do this year, is to sort of try and use a community council as the place where we organize all these pockets of discussions. And this year, we seem to have focused on 3. I don't know if that's clear enough. The community council, from late last year through the beginning of this year, has sort of organized pockets of discussions into 3 categories. One, we're trying to figure out how do we transition from funded development to open source development. 2, what does the next version of Mojo look like? You'll hear a bit more of that in the next session from Pedro. And then 3, incentives and recognition. Some of this you've actually seen. So tomorrow, the very last session, will be awarding some of our star community contributors. They will have limited edition Mojo swag. You will never see them again. And so on and so forth. So a lot of the initiatives we have from a community council perspective, sort of the work right now focuses on these 3 things. There are a few other small pieces, but these are the main ones. The community council had a chance to discuss and agree what is the way forward with regards to these three objectives that we have for the year. And we came up with a resolution. This is a highly summarized version. We can go into the nitty-gritties of all of them, but I do want to give you a very broad summary of each of them. 1, the community, you guys, through the Community Council, have told us that we need a high-level product definition from the Product Council. I forgot to mention the Product Council. It's not a governing group, but it is where we discuss the Mojo product, its priorities. And it's quite open, actually. This is currently led by Paul Macon. You guys have told us you want a product definition. What is Mojo and what are the various things under Mojo, to put it very generally. And once there's a product definition, from it create a product roadmap. And those 3 points elaborate what that product roadmap essentially is. What are the essential features? What are the nice features to have? What needs to be fixed now and what's the rationale for it? 3, what are the timelines? What is a business case justification for each of these things? So this product roadmap, once it exists from the Product Council, the next place it goes to is to the Design Authority, currently chaired by who? Michael Richards. We keep Michael busy with the community governance work. The Design Authority then takes the product roadmap and it uses that to produce a technical roadmap. You would together with the work streams, right? And then once that is all agreed upon, we've got a clear plan. How do we get from how do we organize ourselves to help the community achieve what it wants to do? So this is the reflection part. And most of our work, especially this quarter following the convening, will revolve around this. I believe Paul Macon has a session on Thursday with the Product Council, where we get to hear from you what your requirements are, what your ideas are around product roadmap, product strategy, things that would help us get more clarity on the direction we need to move as a community. Okay. Right. So let's go to community directions. Well, that's what the community has been discussing, and it's a more organized. There are a few other bubbling conversations that I want to be put forward to the community here, and those of us joining on Zoom. In terms of a direction, I think we should go. There are 3 things. I've heard this actually since I arrived on Saturday. Right now, I hear a lot of discussion around 3 points. Around infrastructure, and I'll go into some detail about what that is, about the payment manager tool, and what a vanilla Mojo loop looks like or should be. So let's talk about infrastructure. Have you noticed, those of you on Slack, if you go to the Help Mojo Loop channel, you'll notice 9 out of 10 comments are around installing Mojo Loop. Have you noticed that? So on Slack, we get a bunch of people coming in, and they're usually trying to install Mojo Loop either on the computer or on some cloud somewhere. and they often run into trouble. I think Helm charts is usually the main culprit. So I've realized, and I've heard a lot of people express some frustrations around installations. Now, here's my question. If we can't get people to correctly and easily, well, painlessly, I think is a better word, install Moji Loop, or if we're able to fix the problems of installation, then we can deal with the problems around getting it to work and getting it to do what it needs to do, right? Excellent, I'm seeing people furiously nodding their heads, so I think we're all aligned on that point. So we have various tools that have been built to sort of address this problem in different ways. There's Miniloop. I think, Tom, you're talking about Miniloop at some point this week. Yep. Miniloop essentially helps you get Moji Loop installed on your computer. That's oversimplifying it. I'll leave the rest to Tom to explain in this session later on this week. We've got tools like Payment Manager. We've got tools like Payment Hub EE from MyFos. The last time the Community Council counted tools for either to help installation or to assist with onboarding, we got to a tool count of about 6. That's how many initiatives there are in the community to sort of figure that out. And the Community Council last year took a stab at organizing the strategy around the onboarding tools. So that's a current situation with the tools. There are other initiatives where some of you may be aware that we've been working closely. We've been having talks with Microsoft around getting them to make it easy to install Moji Loop on Azure. I have had interest from some of the folks at Google around doing the same thing, making it easy to get Moji Loop installation on Google Cloud. And Paula was in Singapore, I think 2 weeks ago, where she met with some representatives from the AWS team, and they're also interested in an easy way to get Moji Loop installed on the Amazon Web Services, which is interesting. So given this context on infrastructure, I want to make this proposal. I'd like to propose a new work stream whose objective is very simple to begin with. Are we able to collaborate with Google, Microsoft, and Amazon to make it easy to install Moji Loop on their cloud services? So what I'm looking for is somebody who's excited enough about this work stream to lead it starting tomorrow, because we're having a product and roadmap discussion tomorrow. If that person is you, please let me know. I'd be interested to bring you up to speed on some of the conversations. And if you're interested in participating in this work stream, again, do let me know. We will organize it so that we have a sprint, we have all the relevant conversations, and we can get everybody up to speed. And we can try and make it easy as much as possible to get installations up on these cloud service providers. So this is the current direction we're giving to the community. Again, the way the community works is you can be excited and say, yes, I'll sign up for it, or you can say, no, that's rubbish, turn it away. Waiting to hear your feedback on that. So that's around infrastructure. Let's talk about Payment Manager. Last year, Payment Manager as a tool developed within Modusbox was contributed back to the Moji Loop Foundation. Now, there is a process for the foundation to accept contributions back. What does that process look like? We have a form where any tool or any code, any substantial code is submitted to us, and we send it to the Community Council, we send it to the Design Authority, we send it to the Change Control Board if it has an API attached to it. And those guys look at it and they decide, are we able to accept it? Now, for many months now, the Design Authority and others have been pouring through the code and trying to understand Payment Manager in a bit to accept it. It still hasn't been accepted. There's still a couple of things that need to be worked on. Those things are actually public information. So if you go to community.mojiloop.io, that's our community discourse page. And if you navigate to the Design Authority section, you'll see a bunch of call recordings. That information is actually public. You're supposed to be aware of what discussions are happening in the community. Somewhere in those meeting minutes, you'll see many discussions and call recordings around the payment manager contribution. So those of you who are interested in it, please go and see what the design authority has said so far. I don't want to go into details. I think the person who dealt with this more completely was Lewis when he served as the chair of the design authority last year. So he may be able to, if you want to have a conversation about it right now, he may be able to give you the most information from a design authority perspective. So what is the direction we want to give? We want to figure out, can we get community resources, you people, individuals, to help us get payment manager over the line and into the foundation? Why? Paul Macon, from the product perspective, has identified payment manager as a critical piece in getting, what's the word? As part of the product strategy. It's a central, he's made it a central piece of the entire modular product strategy. You probably will hear more of that in the session tomorrow. And we think it's a very useful tool when it comes to engaging different stakeholders, adopters, and so on and so forth. So, here we go. So I have had conversations with some organizations, 2 specific organizations that may be interested in looking at this work. And this is where the community growth and engagement part of my work comes in, trying to find people who would be able to volunteer their time and resources to build something and contribute something back to the community that will actually help. So in case you're one of those people that is interested, please let me know. This is something that in the next quarter, we would want to take a serious stab on. So that's payment manager. Let's go to the third one, vanilla Moji loop. I was having this conversation over the weekend and we asked ourselves, Moji loop is one huge software with many moving parts. If we were as a community to decide what vanilla Moji loop looks like, what would that be? Now that's primarily a product conversation. And essentially it follows a product process. We need to figure out a product definition, what Moji loop is, what it isn't, a product roadmap and a technical roadmap for it, build it out. That's one side of this conversation. The other side, I think, is a more interesting conversation. Right now, someone made the argument to me that currently the Moji loop and the Moji loop community is very product oriented. We look at Moji loop as a whole product, as something you take, install, deploy, run. But some of us may seem to have either ignored or forgotten or not realized there's a services part to this. There are many organizations or people, especially those who play in the system integration area, who understand concretely a certain function that's needed to run Moji loop. So for example, off the top of my mind, fraud management, fraud and risk management. Within our community, we have a few people, a few organizations who are looking at that and trying to build knowledge and capacity in that specific area. And that's just one. There are a couple of others, many other services that could easily support Moji loop. And I'm placing a big bet on this, that apart from a product-oriented vision of Moji loop, if you consider some of the services, we may be able to grow the community and the capacity of specific individuals or organizations around some of these services. And then those organizations and services can then go and use that to make an extra Tanzanian shilling or two with existing deployments or new deployments. So again, just to give everyone a quick, so this is the direction we propose from the community perspective around infrastructure, around payment manager, around vanilla Moji loop. We think, simple or complicated as these things may be, depending on where you're looking at them from, we think if we're able to resolve some of the major challenges in these 3 areas, we should be in a good place to move the community forward and to help those who are actively seeking and working on deployments. Now, so what's the process? we've set a direction. These discussions will be brought back to the Community Council. If you've got an opinion on any of these directions, please you can send them to me or Sam. You can't miss Sam, he's in a nice fancy blue suit today. Sam is a co-chair of the Community Council. And because the Community Council is a representative, it's essentially your voice in the community. You get to have a say on what direction we take. And this is something that we hope we can take a big stab on this year. Now, these aren't the only areas in which we're giving direction. There are a couple of others. Again, I would encourage you to spend some time pouring through the minutes and call recordings of the various community governing groups, the Design Authority, the Community Council, Product Council. What's the other one? There's one more. The Change Control Board. Most of those minutes are posted online at community.mojoloop.io. And if you've got any question at any point, just because you're not a member of those governing boards doesn't mean you can't join and give you feedback. If you'd like to, please let me know. That can easily be arranged. Those groups are very open and very welcoming. They're very fun sometimes. They can be very intense other times. But it's through those groups that we're able to collectively move some of these things forward. Right. The last thing I want to give an update on in the 5 minutes I have left is the Moji Loop training program. This is one of the areas I get really excited about. Those of you guys who've been paying attention, we now have 10 courses, 3 of them just newly released in January. And we're not stopping there. We want to develop a couple of more courses this quarter. So there are a couple of things that have been going on silently in the background. One, we are upgrading, migrating our Moodle instance from a European provider to a US-based provider that has many more benefits. Okay, completely forgot to do one thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. There we go. Apologies to the folks on Zoom who could not see the slides, but just as a reminder, the slides are already available at mojoloop.io/decks. That's DECKS. All the slides from yesterday are there. All the slides from today will be there as well. Oh, they're already there as well. So just don't go through the slides now and then in the afternoon go back to bed. Just please join us again for those sessions. So we are upgrading our Moodle instance for a number of reasons. It's just a better platform, serves our needs much better. That has been going on for the past couple of weeks, almost done. The crowning of that will be, we will be reskinning the existing Moodle instance. Those of you guys who have no idea what I'm talking about, if you navigate to learn.mojoloop.io, that is where our Moji Loop training program sits. That's where you can take all the courses. Right now, if you go to that website, it takes you to a login page, not very friendly. So we're gonna reskin that in the next couple of weeks. You should see that soon. We have decided this year from a total of 5 courses that we'd like to develop. Starting Monday, we will be working on 2 courses. We want to focus on an executive series course. This is targeted at key decision makers, fairly high level, people who need some depth, but not too technical or some information in order to make decisions around Moji Loop. So we'll be working on that. Again, this is also a call for volunteers. If you believe you've got some experience dealing with executive level folks and you know what they want to hear, we need that information in this course. So that development starts from Monday. Please reach out to me if you're interested in participating in that. We will be collaborating with a few other organizations on the third-party payment initiation course, 3PPI. That's something that's very exciting as well. So we hope we can get your support for that. And with that, I will end that session there. Thank you for joining. Again, the main emphasis here is there are many opportunities, very specific opportunities for you to engage. If something has piqued your interest, do let me know. That's my email address. we'd be happy to connect you. If you want to have those conversations inside meetings here, some of those meetings already exist. You probably just need to be invited. None of those meetings lock people out. Or if you want to have these conversations in the hallways, feel free to pull myself in. The other relevant people that you probably should pull in is Sam as the Community Council co-chair and Mr. Michael Richards as the rapporteur for the Change Control Board. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to switch over quickly to the next session, which is Pedro.